Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken, specifically episode 340. I'm Garrett, joined as always by Jocelyn. Jocelyn, I believe we are both more or less on the mend. Still a little congested.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. A polite knock on my wooden desk. Yeah, definitely, definitely doing better than last week, but not 100% by any means. Thank you, everybody who has been tweeting, emailing in, saying that we did a surprisingly good job given the state of our illness last week, and that you appreciated it, and you hope we feel better. We appreciate the well wishes, everybody. As for today's episode, it's stacked. I've been thinking about nothing but Battlegrounds, Jocelyn. And by the way, to everybody listening, happy Open Battlegrounds Beta Day, everyone. We are recording this on Tuesday, November 12th, 2019, which means today is the first day that Hearthstone Battlegrounds is an open beta for everyone. You didn't have to go to BlizzCon. You didn't have to win our giveaway. Congratulations to our winners, by the way. You have been emailed. Check the email you signed up for Gleam with. That's the email we sent to the
Also check your junk mail, because I always include a redemption link, because sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out where to actually put that code in Battle.net. So I added a redemption link, which might maybe put it in your spam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the giveaway was not just to get you in the Battlegrounds, by the way. You also got a standard bundle for the next Hearthstone expansion. So if you're listening to this like, oh, I may have one, I won't check. Battlegrounds is already open. It's like, no, you still get a bunch of free packs. Go check it out.
So many packs.
Most people tweeting at us were like only interested in the Battlegrounds access. So I'd just like to remind you that if you did enter our contest, which we had over 3,000 entries, closing in on 4,000 entries the last time I checked, which is pretty insane. So yeah, check your email, everybody. But yeah, Battlegrounds is now an open beta for everyone. I don't know about you, Jocelyn, but I'm just gonna come clean with every single listener of The Angry Chicken right now. I have played nothing but Battlegrounds in Hearthstone this week.
Me too. I'm actually a little bit worried. I'm going to have to put like a sticky on my monitor or something that says, hey, Joss, don't forget to get your 5 wins. Because I have not been on the ladder at all.
I should probably make that same sticky, because I have never missed a monthly card back. And if I miss one at this point, it is going to haunt me for the rest of my days. Like the one random Christmas one you're missing, and we can't even.
Oh my God, yeah.
We still haven't figured out which. One day we need to just screen share and compare notes and figure out what holiday one you're missing.
It's the Winter Veil one from last Christmas, so 2018.
That's right,
because I was getting married within 6 weeks of that, and I was just like, ah.
Yeah, I remember exactly why now. Because I went to your wedding and froze my butt off.
I was still playing Hearthstone, so I don't know exactly what I was supposed to do to get the card back, but apparently I didn't do it, and that makes me really sad, because Halloween and Christmas, my 2 favorite holidays, and yeah.
All right, Joss, I
don't have one. I don't have one.
Do you have a favorite hero? I know they call them bosses, but they're heroes.
I really like AFK.
You like the best hero. Good job.
Yay.
Arguably it depends territory.
Yeah.
Maybe pre-nerf, we'll talk about that. We get to say that there's already been a patch for Battlegrounds, even though today is the first day that it's open. Pre-nerf Toki was probably arguably the best hero, like full stop.
I did like her too.
Yeah. I played quite a few Toki games. I keep hearing like reference to patches on iOS and whatnot. I couldn't play on my phone. Can you play on your phone?
I haven't tried, to be honest, but I know that part of the patch that went out was in order to actually make it playable, because I think before it locked you out if you had less than 2 gigs of RAM. So now I don't know how many gigs of RAM you have, but I know that was a problem for some people.
It never locked me out, but I've got an iPhone 8. It's nothing special. But I was sick and still am. And like, I do not have a great time sitting in front of a computer right now. When I sit for extended periods, my aches that are part of this flu get worse. And I just start to get lightheaded. So I've spent as much of the past week laying down as possible. If I had a couch in my recording studio, I would do this like Zalay. I would be laying down right now recording this podcast, but I do not have a couch in here, so that will not happen because I'm definitely not in the shape to move furniture at the moment. So I try and
want to be careful comparing yourself to Zelay.
I try. Oh God, yeah, poor Zelay. First of all, dong's out for Zelay. Okay, like in solidarity.
I feel so bad because I mean, like, it 100% sucks, and not only for the getting I assume a temporary ban from Twitch, but I mean also just like. I can't even imagine if my bits were out on the internet for any kind of viewing. So
we're talking about 1,000 bits, 2,000 bits, 5,000 bits.
I feel very, 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 very bad for him.
Listen, when you stream as much
as I have not seen it, but I will say, that just sucks. And I assume it was an accident. And yeah,
I have never
my heart goes out to the guy.
Gotten the vibe from Zelay that this type of thing would ever happen on purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely I'm giving Zelay the biggest benefit of the doubt at the moment, and I feel bad because when you stream as much as these full-time streamers stream, like things happen.
Yeah.
You've got a camera on you more than you don't.
Yes.
So yeah, it's anyways. Wasn't planning to talk about that today, but
sorry.
I was.
If you guys are unaware, Zelay has been temporarily banned from Twitch for accidentally flashing his eggplant.
Yes. I was gonna say stream, but sure. Let's go right to emojis to explain all this, which I think soon is going to get you banned on Facebook.
Probably.
They're cracking down on eggplant emoji use because this is the world that we live in now. But where the hell was I going with this? Oh, I was trying to play on my phone. I'm well documented on the show as saying I do not like playing Hearthstone on my phone if I can help it, and I can't really help it right now. So I tried to, and it just was finding me in like a game indefinitely. It would never actually find me a game. I could go in, I could hit modes, see my option of Battlegrounds or Arena, click Arena, go in, hit find a game, and it would just spin in forever. The cancel button would eventually disappear, but it would just continue spinning. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. Can't play it on my iPhone, which has really bummed me out. So I haven't played as much as I really wanted to, but it still has. I've logged probably like 20, 25 games since getting in last Tuesday. And
I've played quite a lot too. I don't know exactly how many games I've played, but I was playing probably 5 to 6 a day, because they take about, like, depending on how well you do, and guys, I don't do well. But they take about, I would say, like 20-ish minutes on average. And so, I mean, I was playing for, a few hours a day each day, and it was a lot of fun. And I was on Twitter and someone gave me a tip. I think it was Raven gave me a tip about something. And I was just like, man, I've been avoiding like tier lists and guides and tips and things, just trying to figure stuff out on my own. And I was doing it wrong, guys. So many people know so many more things than I do about auto battlers and even just Hearthstone in general, like in terms of Battlegrounds, obviously. And I should have just been taking their advice from the get-go.
No, I disagree. I want like a return to our OG dynamic of you being new to the entire genre, and that being this fun yin and yang of the angry chicken. But also do what floats your boat. Like if you want to figure it out and you don't want meta information, this episode's not going to be for you, by the way. We're gonna essentially merge.
We are deep diving on all of this. So.
Yeah, our strategy segment today will be the bulk of the episode, and I have looked at basically every tier list I could find and sprinkled it with a little bit of my own opinion. And we're gonna go basically hero by hero and kind of talk about whether we think they're good or not, and also kind of what the public opinion on those heroes are. So, yeah. So your favorite is AFK. I'm still really digging on Maleficent. I think she's still one of the best heroes
She's the one that buffs the mechs, right?
Yeah, +1/+1, just passive. You don't have to spend any gold on it. Every mech you draft is going to have +1/+1. I'll get deeper into my thoughts there when we get there, but spoiler, I'm putting her at the top of my tier list. I think she's at the tip top, and I think she's a great starter hero. but we'll get there. We'll get there. I think 3 months from now, I think she's going to be like maybe a second tier or an average hero at best. We'll also have to see what comes out with the new heroes, and I'm just getting ahead of myself so many times. So before we get into this episode, it's going to be meaty. It's going to be pretty much all Battlegrounds for the entire 340th episode of The Angry Chicken. Joss, we should thank our bosses. We have hundreds of them, hundreds of bosses, Jocelyn. They're over at patreon.com/TAC. Some of them are giving us $1 an episode. Some are giving us $2 an episode. Some are giving us $5 an episode. And we have producers giving us pretty crazy amounts of dollars per episode, which is why we give them a tip of the hat every single episode, because we can't thank them for their generosity. But if you like The Angry Chicken, you like what we're doing, you want to support Jocelyn and I, and we very much appreciate it. And we're extra super thankful after we go to BlizzCon, because it's a little expensive. So if you get head on over to patreon.com/TAC, because all I want for Christmas is patrons. That's all I want, Jocelyn. Check it out. We really do appreciate the support. It's the entire reason that we get to create content for a living. And to our most recent patrons, Angel F and Chales, thank you. Thank you for signing up. You get perks like access to the patron-only Discord, early signups for our community tournaments, and other things like that. So go check it out, patreon.com/TAC. We thank you for signing up. Don't worry, show's always going to be free, but if you'd like to support us, it's the best way to do it. And now, Joss, let's get into this week's news.
Good news, everyone!
The top story and the only real story this week is that Battlegrounds has received its first patch. It's here. The community manager, Chris Adelis, who talks to us a ton, actually, probably more than any previous community managers, posted Battlegrounds' first patch to the Hearthstone subreddit yesterday. As the patch went live, I actually learned about this, Jocelyn, because I saw a tweet from Brian Kibler, who was really confused about Toki's hero power costing 2, and also being adjusted further. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, a patch went live yesterday on a Monday of all days. Usually this stuff comes in on Tuesdays. And it was for
I think they wanted to avoid patching on open beta day, if I had to guess.
I think that's a solid choice. So yeah, we have balance changes for Battlegrounds
already. And I mean, I feel like this, let's just tack it on to BlizzCon, this post, and then I think I get a big check mark in they'll give us a roadmap category, because that's basically exactly what this is. It was like, okay, here's everything that's in this patch, and then also here's everything we're doing in the future. I was like, oh, what? So yeah, I'm giving myself a roadmap check mark there.
I think this is the closest thing we've had to like a public test server for Hearthstone with going live. Like this feels very Heroes to me. And Heroes of the Storm, we're used to our PTR, new hero goes up. We go to the PTR, we test the hero. Next week, it hits the live game, and usually there's like some minor tweaks when that hero goes live because of the data that they pulled from PTR testing. And the TLDR on this is they're making balance changes. They're probably going to continue making balance changes. They're adding heroes very soon. They're going to be messing with this mode on a monthly basis, if not even more frequent than that, directly from the community manager's mouth, from the team's mouth. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about the balance changes. If you're newer to Battlegrounds, maybe just go ahead and fast forward and listen to the strategy segment, because we're going to talk about the basics before we get kind of nitty gritty with the individual heroes. But let's go ahead and talk about the balance changes that are in this. First up, starting with minions. Mama Bear, a 6-star minion that was considered by many to be one of the best in the game, especially if you were successfully drafting beast synergies during your Battlegrounds play, has been nerfed for I wouldn't say lack of a better word, for the perfect word for what's happening here. So it was a 6-star 5/5 beast that read, whenever you summon a beast, give it +4/+4. So if you're running like things like Rat Pack, this card was insane. Suddenly you had 5/5 rats coming out of your Rat Pack, and it was just Pizza
Gross.
rat on steroids, beating your face in. Well, not beating your face in because that's not how it technically works. It was beating your minions in. It has been changed to a 5/5 giving plus, or it's been changed from a 5/5 giving +5/+5 to a 4/4 giving +4/+4. So sorry, it gave +5/+5 before. I messed up my notes here just a hair. But yeah, 5/5 that gives +5/+5 to any summons beast, to a 4/4 that gives +4/+4. The triple is now an 8/8 that gives +8/+8 to summon beast. So if you are that jerk that I yell at in every game that somehow finds 3 mama bears, that's what it's gonna turn into. But I'm happy with this change. I think Mama Bear was a little strong.
She's still strong, even in the new iteration, because I've played post patch, and totally. Yeah, she's still really, really strong.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Beasts, I think, are one of the stronger tribes in Battlegrounds.
Yeah, I think I would probably go like mechs, then beasts, then demons, then murlocs, only because murlocs, although they tend to get pretty poisonous boards, I find murlocs tend to get run over later on because they don't really have the crazy, like, when things die, give it synergy like mechs and beasts do specifically.
That is very strong in this game mode because of the way combat takes place, like the order of combat. And yeah, murlocs don't have anything like that. And they can get kind of crazy if you can brand into a gentle Megasaur, because then you can double discover or double evolve your murlocs. And if you can get Divine Shield poisonous, it hurts. But
I feel like that's like super, super edge case.
It
like,
is super, super
you
edge
have to
case.
Survive all the way to Megasaur, right?
The issue with Murlocs is so much of their end game is like spawning 1/1 Murlocs, like off of the Threshodon or whatever it's called.
Right, but then spawning those 1/1 Murlocs, like, because the beasts do the same sort of thing as well, with like the infested wolf and stuff, spawning the spiders, and the mechs do the same thing with the dude that spawns the 3 1/1 mechs. But then those are directly feeding the scavenging hyena, and I can't remember the name of the new minion guy, but yeah, both of those feed off of things of their type that die. And without having that, those 1/1 Murlocs are just kind of meh. If those 1/1 Murlocs spawned with poison or something, that would be different. But
if you could like somehow give, I don't know, like immune until final turn to a war leader, that's like, I feel like what is necessary to make these 1/1 Murloc tokens work late game. I still
Junkbot is what I was thinking of. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that you were talking about Junkbot. Still a little hazy in the head, everybody. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. I almost like want another tribe, dragons, because I kind of like where we're at right now, where Murlocs, like, for the most part, I see Murlocs as the thing you draft early to like get aggressive, and then late game you just make a full swap to whatever you just happen to be rolling, like mid to late game. Like you find a bunch, somehow you stumble across a bunch of mechs or demons or beasts that work for you. Awesome. Or maybe you're playing one of those heroes that incentivize you to kind of just diversify and like screw tribe synergy, just go for power plays. That's where I like Murlocs. Like, just don't lose health early, win with Murlocs, and just go super diverse, or just kind of ride the wave of the entire game. That's where I like Murlocs, but I wouldn't be sad to see them get a more like a stronger end game plan. But we'll see. Anyway, I still think beasts are amazing despite Mama Bear's nerf. And Mama Bear's still really good. And dear God, if you can get a triple Mama Bear, yeah,
it's gross.
Go nuts. Kangor's Apprentice was also changed in this balance change because I pretty much agree with your list. You said mech bears, not mech bears, mech bear pig, mech beasts, demons, Murlocs. I agree with your list. That's where I would put it. I think mechs are at the top. Like I kind of think post nerfs almost. I think mechs and beasts are almost like tied, and I think it's still demons, Murlocs. But Kangor's Apprentice was the 6-star 4/8 Death Rattle summon the first two friendly minions that died, first two friendly mechs that died this combat. It's been changed from a 4/8 to a 3/6. That was the only change, was just the bear stats on Kangor's Apprentice, which isn't a huge deal in my opinion. I don't, Kangor's Apprentice, this is a 6-star minion, which means you're not seeing it until late game. 4 attack probably isn't killing anything.
No.
So going to a 3/6, I see this as almost irrelevant. I honestly, like, if Kangor's Apprentice was a 1/1, I'd be stoked, because like all I want this minion to do is die. And I will do my best to make sure it dies later by putting it further to the right in my lineup, but not too far right, because I do want it to die fairly early on, and also have like a taunt or two if I can help it, to make sure it just doesn't get whacked right out the gate before anything dies. So Kangor's Apprentice, still amazing for mech synergy, and you don't even need to go full mech. You just need to have like 2 halfway decent mechs that you're pretty damn sure are going to die before Kangor's Apprentice dies.
Yeah, the ones that I wanted to die, I just put all the way to the left. I was like, you run into big stuff first, then you'll come back later. Yeah,
my mech eggs to the left. All mech eggs to the left, please. Thank you. I want more 8/8s or 16/16s if I upgraded. Ooh. If I got a triple. So, but those were the only minions that were touched. Makes sense to me. Demons, while certainly you look at the health that's happening on some of these demons, going, how do I deal with this? The answer is poisonous.
Yeah.
Poisonous turns out very strong. Amalgams, super strong in Battlegrounds, because they count as everything, so you can give them poisonous even if you weren't going Murlocs. Plus, they're pretty beefy if you get a triple. Like, they're a decent minion. And if you're doing any battle cry to any tribe, they're getting buffed alongside everything else. So, yeah. So, to me, I look at Mama Bear, I look at Kangor's Apprentice, and I go, yep, fair. I would have nerfed these two.
But like you say, I'm not even convinced that Kangor's Apprentice getting less health was really actually a nerf. For all the reasons that you said. Like, it seems like what you want this thing to do is just die. So giving it less health seems good.
Yeah, I like it better with less health. I want it to die. I, of course, would have preferred to have 4 than 3 attack, but I'm splitting hairs at this point. But we also had some hero powers adjusted. And the first one is Infinite Toki. This is what I was alluding to at the top of the show. It was changed from 1 cost to 2 cost, and also reads differently now. It now reads, refresh Bob's Tavern, add a minion from a higher tavern tier. So this means a minion in addition to the minion, the standard amount of minions that would show up when you refresh. Whereas before, the rightmost minion would be replaced with a minion from the next tier up. And
yes, which was like, it was very specifically the next tier up, right? So if I had a 1-tier tavern, then I would get a 2-tier minion. Now, if I have a 1-tier tavern, I could get a 2 to a 6-tier minion added on, right?
Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
Like, a higher tavern tier, I think, opens it up to everything, right? I haven't had the chance. I haven't been offered Toki yet since the change.
My brain didn't even read this in that way, because I was just assuming it was working the way she did before, but cost. Okay, Denmark in the chat room saying, no, it's just 1 up. I'm pretty sure I only saw 1-star increases.
That's because I read this and I went, that is effing broken. Like, why would they do this? You could get a 6-tier minion in the first roll. Like, what? Yeah, it's super crazy. That's what I'm saying. It read to me, as someone who hasn't actually played with Toki since the change, as, a higher tier is anything higher.
I am so
not the next tier.
Yeah, for me, this is definitely a case of I read this and just assumed it said 1 higher tavern tier.
Yeah, because I know how she used to work, but it doesn't. It just says a higher tavern tier.
I'm looking at the website right now. Yeah, it says right there, refresh Bob's Tavern, add a minion from a higher tavern tier, like verbatim. That's it, and I'm fairly certain I've consistently got only 1 higher tavern tier. They should chat room
saying it's just the 1 tier, but that language I think is a little bit confusing.
It is. It's definitely confusing. They should update that. But whatever the case is, this is certainly a nerf to Toki. Whereas like, so a refresh already cost 1 gold. So your hero power costing 1 gold to refresh and having an upside to it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah, like that's what the one or I think 2 times I played her, I was like, why on earth would I not use this button?
Yeah, when we get into
the only thing is you can only do it once, right? It's not infinite, or well, still obviously related to cost.
You can only refresh. You can only Toki hero power refresh once per turn.
Right. But you can Bob Tavern refresh as many times as you have coins for.
Yeah. Yeah. But it would replace one of the minions as opposed to have an additional minion from the next highest tier, which in its own way could be bad, especially if you're chasing a triple from the tier you're currently at. It is a bit of a pullback, but at the end of the day, like it's 1-to-1. It's 1 gold to use your hero power refresh or 1 gold to do a normal refresh. Why not roll the dice and see if you could find something from a higher tier? And while it's clearly random as all get out, like you could, and you're not guaranteed to find something that's good. You're definitely not guaranteed to find something for the strategy that you're trying to deploy, that you're trying to draft for. I originally thought Toki was bad. Toki was like, when I first started playing this game, I looked at a hero power and go, oh, this is random BS. Like, I'm not gonna go for this. Like, but the more and more I played Battlegrounds, I realized that it was just like a no-brainer. It was just so gold efficient. It was so economy efficient to the way that this game works that it was an absolute no-brainer. And the highs were super high. When you got a good minion from the next tier, it was such a swing in your favor. So it doesn't surprise me that they made this change. And I am certain, Jocelyn, that they made this change because they were looking at internal win rates.
Well, yeah, I mean, I looked at Toki and went like, yeah, give me something from a higher tier without me actually having to pay for that higher tier. Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. But
I don't think she's bad now. I just think she's average. I would put her at a more kind of like maybe slightly above average hero power now for Toki. Whereas before, I think she was arguably the best pick you could go with. This is still good, but it's, again, you're dealing with like inefficiency. You're paying 2 gold where normal refresh is 1 gold. You're also rolling the dice. So if what is popping up in the next tier higher is not actually good, it's just a waste of a gold. Which, is a feel bad. I need more time with this to really figure out if it's good or not. But I think that for me,
I think she's still good. I would still pick her over the vast majority of the others.
Yeah. Yes. And I did. I played, I think, 2 games with Toki post change. But anyways, the next 2 are, in my mind, just definitely buffs. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. King Mukla, Bananarama power has been changed. Previously, it was whenever you sold a beast, you added a banana to your hand. And for folks at home, if you're unaware, this is the exact same banana that we get in regular Hearthstone. So it's that targeted spell buff that gives +1/+1 to whatever you want to give it to. So you had to sell a beast, and then you would get a banana, so you could buff something +1/+1. I think this was one of the worst hero powers in the game.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah. I thought it was absolutely horrible. And now it has been changed to it's still a passive hero power that whenever you buy a beast, you add a banana to your hand. I think this is great. I think this is. Yeah. I would still put this probably in average because +1/+1.
I think this is very close. I think to the mech buffing one, right? Maleficent.
Yes.
Except what I think is better about this is that the bananas don't have to go on beasts, and you can like spread them out as you see fit. So like your whole board won't be +1/+1, but you could potentially like help protect one of your scavenging hyenas, say, or, it helps you decide. Like you have a little bit more leeway with this hero power, and there's therefore a little bit more strategy here than just a straight +1/+1 buff to all mechs.
Yeah, that's just really good. Yeah, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about the stacking capability. You're absolutely right. Never mind. I would put this probably top tier then. If I myself believe that Maleficent is top tier, then this is definitely top tier because you get to that end and you're not finding the minions you want, just keep buying beasts and selling them and getting bananas. Like,
yeah,
why not? I mean, the hardest part with that is finding an open spot on your board to sell, but it's more than you can do with Maleficent's passive hero power late game. If you're not actually going to use the minions that you're buying, there's no way to trade, to at least move 1/1 onto a minion you want to keep. So yeah, this is great. And I pretty much feel the same way about Jaraxxus, who had his Blood Fury hero power changed from 3 cost to 2. It gives +1/+1 to all of your demons on your entire board. And before at 3 mana, that was just so overcosted. And I was actually, Katie and I were watching some Battleground streams, and Jaraxxus kept coming up and kept getting passed on, and I was just like, it's so overcosted. I don't see why it doesn't cost 2. Like
I tried playing him a couple times at the 3 cost, and my biggest problem with him is actually it's quite similar. Like, now that you told me on our last show that there's a shared card pool, it started to make a lot more sense, because I would pick Jaraxxus, and I feel like this happens with Mukla, and this also happens with Maleficent. But as soon as people see those heroes in the Battlegrounds, they're going to start to try to snipe your really strong minions. So I was very much feeling like I just wasn't seeing demons. And then I'd go up against people who had other like non-tribe specific hero powers, and they'd have all the demons. And I was like, you jerks. So I think that being able to do your hero power for a little bit less cost is probably a really good buff, but I still think like Jaraxxus, Mukla, and Maleficent, all the tribe specific heroes are always going to potentially have to rely a little bit more on luck than the non-tribe specific heroes, because everyone knows what direction you're going to try to go down when you have one of those 3 heroes, right? So I think that's what actually makes the the curator, or is it the curator? No, it's the Rat King, the guy who buffs a tribe, but it changes all the time.
Yeah, that's the Rat King.
Yeah, the Rat King. Yeah, I like the Rat King. I think he's really cool. So I think he has a little bit more flexibility, and yeah, so I like him.
And I realized I said really mana a few times, right? So to stop all of the Hermione's, aka insufferable know-it-alls out there from correcting us to say coins, still sick. New game mode, don't care. But yeah, this is amazing. It needed to be done. Jaraxxus was, I think, the worst hero power in the entire game before this change, and now I think it's an average hero power. And again, it can stack. It's not passive. So as far as the 1/1 hero powers are concerned, I still think it's one of the worst ones. Like compared to Mukla or Maleficent, I think this is still kind of crap. And it's interesting because I think beasts and mechs are definitely better than demons.
Yeah, demons, I think, just as a tribe in general, are not as strong as the other 2, as Mukla as beasts for Mukla and mechs for Maleficent. But I do still think this is better. Anyways, it's definitely a buff, and I can see how they maybe don't want to go overboard necessarily with this. So they don't want him to be able to buff super early boards if it really, really quickly.
At 1 mana, it would be too much.
Yeah.
And they clearly don't want hero powers to be identical to any other heroes. Like, even if it was just a change of tribe is the vibe I'm getting, because otherwise I would say just make this passive like Maleficent. But it's not, and I don't think they're going to do that. So I think this is as good as this hero power can get. So I would kind of put this in average. We'll revisit these when we kind of talk about where we think they fall tier-wise in strategy today, but all of this I think is good. I agree with all these changes so far, except maybe Kangor's Apprentice. I'm still looking at that one going, you might be a buff.
Yeah, that one you can't really tell, right? It's like doing stuff, changing attack and health is what would normally be a nerf, but in this case with such a strong death rattle, I mean, especially if you can get this with Baron on board, like, yes, please.
I think, honestly, I believe it's irrelevant. Because of the attack values of things when we get to late game,
by the time you're getting
finding
6-star. Yeah.
There's a good chance at 8 or 6 health, probably dying anyway. And at 4 or 3 health, probably not killing anything anyway.
Yeah, which is why like this is so strange because they didn't change what he actually does. They just changed stats that don't really matter at that stage of the game. But maybe they do matter. Maybe they are seeing things in the back end that we're not seeing.
Well, it is mech, so it's worth. I mean, it's very likely that you're spawning microbots. So the 4 attack could set something up to die that may have died to like a microbot falling off of something else in the combat. 1 damage is worth a lot in Battlegrounds, I think, especially when you're talking about mechs and mech synergy, which Kangor's Apprentice certainly falls into. So at least the attack value, I think, counts for something. The health, I think, is more or less irrelevant. So, and then the future of Battlegrounds. You talked about that roadmap. Let's talk about it because there was a lot previewed here in Chris's statements. Said that the team is aiming to make updates fairly regularly, like quote, every month or so, possibly even faster, which is like blowing my mind as far as Hearthstone is concerned. I was not expecting that to be the case because this is Hearthstone. And yeah, 2019, certainly they have surprised us with how quickly they've been making changes. But they haven't made changes quick enough, I think, at least right now. Really in the throes of standard Hearthstone right now with Evolve and Bunny Rabbits, the way it currently sits, like, yeah, okay, it's still Team 5. We're still moving at Team 5 speed. They've definitely, they are now going, they're doing a gentleman's 5 over the speed limit, whereas before they were that person in the left lane doing 5 under, and you were just like, why? Please move over to the middle lane. Yeah, I didn't mention this last week because I just didn't want to get into it. But I like historically, I would not look at Team 5 as a development team that would move as quickly as I feel you need to move for an auto battler. I like auto chess. I like Underlords. There's a lot of updates to both those games, TFT as well, even though it's not the one that I play. And so that was kind of my hesitation last week that I didn't want to mention because I just want to get into what I kind of wanted to enjoy, just being surprised by something for a change. And I mean, that was the criticism that was kind of levied against Battlegrounds in the very, very beginning by some of the top streamers, more competitive Legend players and stuff, is that this mode, although compelling, feels like it doesn't have enough depth or that it would get stale quite quickly. And they've basically addressed that concern with this first bullet point here, saying like, okay, you think there's not enough depth? You think that there's not enough just variety and to the game? Well, guess what? We're going to be updating it every few weeks, which, I mean, the only thing that we see get updates that quickly is Tavern Brawl. And a lot of the times with Tavern Brawl, it's just, putting out the same brawl we've had previously. So it's like flicking a switch. Every week you get a new brawl, you do it one time, whatever. Arena obviously gets updates every couple of months, but we've never seen something get updates every few weeks. So I think this is really cool. And I think this is going to help us quite a lot to keep this feeling fresh. I mean, I love the leaderboard that updates every 5 minutes. I think that's a really, really cool feature. And I know a lot of people are really striving to get the highest rating that they can. And I think that's enough to make people keep playing as long as they're having a good time. And I think updating it every month or sooner or faster is a good way to keep them excited and want to keep working on a rating. Oh, absolutely. So I am very, very happy to hear this is going to be updated every month, possibly even more regularly than that. It was also mentioned that new heroes and minions are coming, that they said, we've been cooking up some new heroes and minions and we'll be making them live within the game with our next update. We don't want to say too much right now, but a couple of very familiar faces will be included. So next update, if they said every month or so, like 4 or 5 weeks from now, new heroes and minions, like rad.
Yeah, absolutely. At most.
Fantastic. Down for this. And then,
I'm wondering if we're going to see, so we have less than a month now. Yeah, less than a month now, or exactly a month until the next Hearthstone expansion. So do you think that we'll see a change to Battlegrounds before we see the new expansion?
I wouldn't think they would want to make that happen the same day as an expansion goes live.
Which maybe is why they say possibly even faster. Maybe we'll see it the week before the new expansion.
Yeah. Like I think the week before would be the best, especially if they treat it like a reset of Battlegrounds, where they like lock us back to 2 heroes unless we buy. Obviously, I don't think they're going to do that for this one, but like the next expansion, 2020, I think you should probably like sync and update the week. If I were them, I'd sync and update the week before, do the Battlegrounds reset then, to have to re-unlock 3 options of a hero from, I believe it's 20. You have to buy 20 packs to get that. I think that's what I would do and what I would hope. I don't think they'll do that, and I hope they don't do that, because we've already technically unlocked the 3 different tiers if we bought 30 packs for the next expansion right now. So I hope they don't do that, and I don't think they will.
If I were them, I think I would put an update out the week before the next expansion goes live, and the new minions that I added would be dragons.
Yes.
Get the dragon hype going. Then have your, because the week before we don't usually see any more card reveals. Like, we've got everything for about a week heading into the expansion. So, they won't be competing with standard in any way. They won't be competing with the new expansion. It's just another way to get hype around dragons in Hearthstone. So that would be my strategy if I worked on Team 5 and we were already planning new heroes and minions and planning updates every month or so. My goal would be the Tuesday before the next expansion, dragons come to Battlegrounds.
Also, as a creator who covers Hearthstone news, please, for the love of God, break it up. Please and thank you. They also mentioned stats. They said, quote, "We know the amount of gameplay information that informs how players are performing is limited right now. We are already hard at work on an advanced stats screen that we will make available in the next update. We'll have much more detail soon, but expect things like your top 5 heroes by wins, most played heroes, how many first place finishes you've completed. Don't we already have that? And more. We already have how many times we've hit first place.
Yes. How many times you've hit first place and how many times you have won, which is top 4, right?
Yes.
You can see that. I think it's just the more stat button isn't available yet.
Yeah. And then leaderboard updates was brought up, and this was not what I thought. I thought this was the leaderboard that's on the website. No, it was my single biggest critique, which I forgot to mention last week, although I did mention it on the instance, which is this is what's on the side of the game as you're playing, where you can hover over the other players in your session of Battlegrounds. I was pretty salty that we couldn't see our opponent's boards, because that's a standard feature in literally every other auto battler ever made, is that at any point in the game, you could look at your opponent's boards and see what they're drafting. And you could also see what they're holding, like it's not really a hand in any other auto battler, but for the sake of our purposes on the show, I will say you could see what they're holding in their hand. In Chris's message here, he said, quote, "We want to give players more useful information about their opponents so they can make more informed gameplay decisions and build more complex strategies. On the left-hand leaderboard, we're going to be adding some additional information on the minion types that your opponents have. For example, you'll be able to see that one of your opponents currently holds 3 Murlocs and 2 Demons." That's amazing. I mean, it's not exactly what I was hoping for, but I was also thinking, this is Hearthstone. They like to go simple. They will probably just never add that because it's something I want, and I'm just used to them never adding things I think should be added. I like this a lot, like a ton. I can't wait for this to come to the game, Joss.
I think this is actually a really good implementation because, I mean, I don't know about other auto battlers, so you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, it feels like with the current pool of minions, there's kind of too few. So if you knew absolutely exactly what your opponent had, then I feel like it's too much information. But being able to know that they have, all demons or all beasts or all murlocs or whatever, like what path they're going down, or if they're possibly splitting things up, you can make like educated guesses about what you think that they have, or even like worst case scenarios. Like, okay, if they have 2 demons, what's the worst possible thing right now for them to have for me? So I think that this is just enough information, and maybe my thoughts will change over time as the minion and hero pool expands. But for me right now, I feel like the minion pool is way too small to tell us exactly what all 8 of our opponents or 7 of our opponents are actually drafting.
Agreed. I really like this mode, and the one thing that was really irking me was I could make it to like turn 7 or 8 and see another opponent for the first time and be like, oh, I've been going for this strategy and they have like triples of all of the things I've been trying to draft. And since it is, again, a limited pool, like that was really driving me crazy. And still is to a certain degree. I don't think it's the end of the... I'm surprised how good this game mode works without it. That being said, I'm glad they're working on it and that we're going to see this information and that they're doing a more in between, because having played, as you know, in the past week, I think it works pretty well with like the zero information we currently have unless we play against the opponent. So having kind of obfuscated but specific information and knowing how many from what tribe they have in their setup, I think that's enough. I'm not sure I need to see their entire board.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's too much information. And I think it would take some of the thought out of the game, like not necessarily some of the strategy, but just like you're being rewarded for your knowledge, for knowing what the strongest boards your opponents could be trying to build and what their targets probably are. Like that's something I think you should be rewarded for. So it's kind of like knowing what the most likely warlock opponent in standard ladder is that you're going to be playing, like knowing the meta, knowing the decks that are strong, knowing the strategies that work well against that in a normal standard Hearthstone ladder is a skill that we talk about how it should be very much rewarded. Like, you know, tech choices should be rewarded, understanding matchups should be rewarded. And I feel like you can apply that to Battlegrounds and say like, look, you're a Murloc, you're going for demons. That's, you know, I need to know what that meta picks would look like and what the worst case scenario is. And I want people who have that knowledge and have that skill to be rewarded with a higher ranking. So I don't want it to just be, here's all the information, splah, because I think that takes some of the skill out of it. It's my big roundabout way of saying that.
Fair. And then finally, the selling experience was mentioned. They said that they want to make some improvements to how minions are sold, allowing minions to be sold from your hand. That's just
a kind of a big deal.
That's a huge deal because it's just a mechanical change.
There's sometimes where I've picked up a minion that I want to try to use. So Bran is a really good example. It's like I want to take him out of the pool so that my opponent can't get him, and I don't have any battleground. I don't have any battlecry minions right now, but if I do get them, it'll be really powerful. But then I don't end up getting what I'm looking for or whatever, and then I've got this card just sitting in my hand. And I don't want to get rid of anything that's on my board because they're all really good, but I'm just like, oh, I just want to, I need the coin for whatever. And being able to sell from hand, I think is going to make that like grab it out of the pool and hold it in your hand strategy to deny it from an opponent. I think that it's going to make that a little bit more viable than it is currently right now.
The word you're looking for is hate drafting.
Oh, okay. Apparently I hate draft a lot.
No. Just hate that would be the action of hate. When you're drafting something, not to use it, but so no one else can get it.
So no one else gets it. I do that all the time.
I don't think it works that well in Battlegrounds.
It doesn't matter. It makes me feel better.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm like, I see you trying to get that third war leader. I don't even want Murlocs. Just nope.
Murlocs? You put them at the bottom of your tier list, your own admission.
It was the first example that came to my mind. It doesn't mean that that's actually a minion I would target with my hate, but I definitely do it 100% of the time.
Oh God. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just like a change to the mechanics of Battleground. Like as it stands, I think the fact that you can't sell from your hand is part of the strategy of the game. And I don't think I have a strong feeling one way or the other. I just think it's interesting that they want to get rid of that. I will say that when we sat down to play it at BlizzCon for the first time, I just assumed you could sell from your hand. I tried like 7 times to like move a Murloc from my hand to Bob. And I was just like, why isn't this working? And then
it seems like the way it should work. It's the intuitive way, I think.
Yeah,
it's like, I have a thing I don't want. Here, Bob, take it.
That's where I tend to lean, but I get more lenient when it creates interesting, skill floors and the skill ceilings. And I think that's where we kind of set it up. So I'm kind of okay, I think, either way. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a really strong feeling on whether they should or should not do this. Either way, I think it's cool that they're looking at this. They said also this is something that will probably make it into the game sometime early next year, and that they'll have more updates on how this is progressing, especially if they think it will come out later than January. All of this is rad. I love this communication. Keep it coming. It sounds like they will. They said
It was just on Reddit, right?
Yes.
There was no
that I am
post
aware
anywhere
of.
else.
I tried like crazy because when it comes to show notes, I have this weird tick where I have to find the original source for the link that we put in the show notes. Doesn't matter. I've never had anyone complain when I haven't linked to the original source, but I always try my best.
It's very journalistic of you.
I try. But yeah, this seems to have originated on Reddit. I mean, the post on Reddit is from Chris himself, and there's no additional link to the forum and it's not on the news website. So yeah, there is that. There is our first Battlegrounds balance patch, which means before we move into strategy, we have a sponsor to thank today, Jocelyn, and it's Harry's.
We do.
Which this is a particularly good week for Harry's. I have a little bit of stubble back, but last week, Jocelyn, for the first time in probably half a decade, I clean shaved my entire face.
Why? Why would you do that? Was it just because you were so sick and it was really gross and you were like,
yes.
Get out of my hairs?
Partially that, and partially I was just like, well, I already have my beard so short. F it. Like it's post BlizzCon. No one's got to see me in person. Let's just see what it looks like.
I've never seen clean shaven Garrett.
I look like a baby. You definitely have. You definitely.
I don't think so.
The first 2 years of the Angry Chicken, I kept my face clean shaven. Yeah. I will send you a Nertacular photo. There's a Nertacular photo where I look like I am about twice the weight that I am now. It was because I was clean shaven. I was also
and half the age.
I was also pretty heavy at the time. So, anyways, which means for the first time in years, took a Harry's blade to like my chin and my cheeks, and I didn't get razor burn. Like I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. I haven't shaven my chin in so long, Jocelyn. I honestly don't know how to do it anymore. That's how long it's been. I
have to shave my knees. I understand. There are some really weird like bumps and stuff that you're just like, no, razor does not belong there. I am going to do myself a mischief.
Yeah. I also wasn't taking care of my beard that well. Wasn't keeping oil in it. So I have these dry patches in my chin. I only have one left. That's like how well the cream was doing to hydrate my face as I shave. Like I was really impressed. I'm growing my stubble back because I'm not sure I'm going to stay with clean shaven, but it was a nice reminder because, for as long as Harry's is sponsoring the program, I've pretty much been using it exclusively for manscaping, neck shaving, and getting rid of those weird, I call them Wolverine hairs that grow up way higher than my actual beard. So I've always been a fan, but now I'm a big fan because, like I said, don't remember how to shave my chin, and I still walked away without losing all of my blood. So thank you so much to Harry's for just making really great razors that are not super expensive to buy. So you should go check them out, by the way. If you've never checked them out, you can go to harrys.com/TAC right now, and you're going to be able to redeem your Harry's trial set. In that trial set, you're going to get their weighted ergonomic handle for a firm grip. You're going to get a 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and trimmer blade. You're going to get that rich lathering shave gel with aloe in it. It's going to keep your skin hydrated. It's like weirdly my favorite part. I love their shave gel. It just smells so good. And you're also going to get a travel blade cover so you can take it with you on the go. Super convenient. You're also going to support the Angry Chicken in the process for all of this. So go check them out, harrys.com/TAC, and start shaving better today. So with that said, let's talk more Battlegrounds and get into this week's strategy discussion where we're going to talk about all of the heroes.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
So, Battlegrounds, I'm playing it, you're playing it, we're all playing Battlegrounds, except for those Evolved Shaman players because your days are numbered.
Still
so
over in standard.
I don't blame you. Why not? Like, if you legitimately love this deck, or if you legitimately just love winning, I don't blame you. That's a great time to be playing that deck because you're not going to be able to for that much longer, at least not in standard. So, yeah, we're going to talk Battlegrounds strategy. And before we get into the nitty gritty of the heroes, I wanted to just do a quick overview because if the amount of emails that came into the inbox, patron Discord messages we received, and tweets that came into @TAC Podcast, where I apparently blew many minds when I mentioned that we were drafting from a limited pool last week, I figured,
it doesn't tell you that anywhere. Like if you just don't know that, then I thought everyone's pool was the same I
gotta say, it didn't even cross my mind because if you play other auto battlers, they don't have great, if any, tutorials at all. I originally started with the Dota 2 mod. It was the most obtuse thing I've ever tried to play in my entire life. So like, I think to a certain degree, they are just assuming you are familiar with auto battlers here, and all auto battlers draft from a limited pool. And that was like what I found so cool about them. I'm like, oh, I'm playing with MOBA heroes, but I'm drafting like I would in a Magic the Gathering draft where it's a limited pool and you can infer things from what's disappearing. Although in auto chess, you can just look at other boards and see what they're drafting. But that's really what hooked me, was like the draft mechanics. Because I like drafting, and Hearthstone doesn't let me do it until now, but in a new game form. Like, again, blowing my mind. So just a reminder, you are drafting your minions from a limited pool, and that limited pool means you want to pay attention to what your opponents are fighting you with. Because honestly, like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, not the most consequential things. You're not going to be able to read into too much, but as you get into the mid game and later, I've got a notepad open all the time, Jocelyn, when I'm playing Battlegrounds.
Oh, do
you? Yeah. Right now, I'm just like, and I've saved it on my desktop. It's like BG Notes. It's just like a .txt file in Microsoft. It's not even Word. And in there, the only thing that's saved is just the 4 tribes, like :0. And I changed the number to how many players are drafting those tribes. Like that's the most base level note I make, because I just kind of want to know. I want to, like, at any moment, if I'm like, is it time to shift? That helps infer. I don't get too crazy. When I first started playing, I was getting pretty crazy with my notes. I was like, what hero is drafting that? So on and so forth. I don't think you need it after you
It doesn't really matter who's doing what. You just have to know what's being done.
Yeah. So I make now just really basic tribe notes for the most part to try and figure out, where I'm going, if I should shift my strategy, and if I am going to shift my strategy, where should I shift it to? And that all comes down to the limited pool. And it sounds like we're going to get a lot more information to make these educated decisions about how we're drafting pretty soon, which is rad. But anyways, also, if you get 3 of the same minion, those 3 cards are going to merge into a single golden minion with combined stats. But it's not a ×3, it's a ×2. You basically get 2 times the stats and 2 times the effect, whatever that effect is.
Exactly. And one other thing that you get when you actually do get a triple, am I using that terminology correctly?
Yes.
All right.
You also call it a golden,
triple,
but I like
or a
triple.
Golden. Okay. I like triple too. Then you also get a card in your hand that allows you to discover a minion from a higher tier in the tavern.
Yes, that costs 0. It doesn't cost you anything to play that. So,
which is actually really good, because that was one thing that I was kind of a little bit confused about, because at first I was like, I think I actually want 3 scavenging hyenas on board instead of, 1 uber hyena. I was like, why? I wish it didn't automatically do this. And I was like, oh, wait, but if I get, a super buff hyena that grows like crazy, and also a minion from a higher tavern tier that is probably going to have beast synergy, that is actually really cool. Now, the discovered minions, do they come out of the pool?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they were like extra copies.
Now you're making me wonder. I have to assume they do, because
I would assume they would come out of the pool too.
Yeah.
Otherwise that would throw all the balance of the game off. It's just like, it's giving you a chance to get a higher tier without actually paying for that higher tavern.
It has to be, because also, and this, I forgot to throw this in notes, but I meant to mention it today. When you sell a minion back, it reintroduces that minion to the pool.
It does. Now, the one thing I couldn't quite figure out, because it seemed like once people started dying that I was seeing the stuff I was looking for. Now, when people die, do their minions go back in the pool as well?
I don't believe so. I don't know for a fact.
Interesting.
Don't believe that's the case, because I've played a lot of auto chess, and I remember in the early days they do. Chat room says certainly seems certain. Read that today, Denmark. Well, Denmark, if you could provide me with proof, if for no other reason, so I can link it in the show notes. Some dev tweeted about it. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Cool. Well,
honestly, I was like 98% sure, because I was like, okay, I know that I've been looking for these for a really long time. Now there's 4 people dead, and all of a sudden these minions are showing up in the pool again. So,
well, that is great to know. I do not believe 3 re-enter the pool.
Which also kind of, sorry, I was going to say it kind of waters down the pool as well, because, you know, if they've got 1 and 2 tier minions that they've buffed up, but then they die, then all of a sudden you're getting these tier 1 and 2 minions back into your pool. So once people start dying, it seems like it's better to just like maybe double down on your board, like
to a certain degree,
rolling your tavern.
to a certain degree, like if you were really holding on for some of those mid-tier minions, like it's probably worth it. But if like you're like, yeah, more mecharoos, like you're not gonna win. If people are dead, you're in late game. Like it kind of, there's definitely diminishing returns on that for sure. But that's good to know. I assume no, because I could have sworn like in the early days of auto chess playing it, like, yeah, that person's dead. Now I can finally get like a level 3 axe. And like, I never saw another axe. I'm pretty sure auto chess doesn't work that way. Or at least maybe not back then. Maybe it does now. I don't know, but good to know. Was talking to a Hearthstone person. I'm just going to say unofficially, they said if you sell an upgraded, like a triple, like a golden card, it does not reintroduce the 3 that made it back into the pool. Essentially considers them gone at that point.
Interesting.
But also selling triples, that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, I can't ever think of a time where I would get rid of a triple instead of something else on my board.
I've done it because I've gotten really lucky with mech drafts, Joss, like since this went live. And I've gotten a lot of the leapers with the battle cry, which buffs the attack of all your mechs. And I had a turn where like I got 2 and I had 2 leapers on the board, and the next turn like I just found another, because it wasn't my strategy to have 2 leapers on my board. It was just kind of mid game, and I hadn't gotten 7 slots filled on my board. So I was like, F it, I'll just keep 2 leapers out for this turn, because there we go. And the next turn I found a 3rd one, and I got a golden leaper, played it, got the super buff and the discover a minion, and then I sold that sucker because it's still just a leaper.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I definitely have sold, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty freaking rare. We've already gotten deeper than I meant to for the basics, but yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, like we got to move faster than this, otherwise we're gonna have an 8-hour episode.
Hey, it happens. It happens. And as we mentioned, 4 tribes. This is like the basic thing currently in Battlegrounds. That's beasts, mechs, murlocs, and demons. So if you're chasing synergy, those are your synergistic tribes at the moment. But Justin, let's talk tier lists. This is something we don't really talk about that much on the Angry Chicken, but it's a new game mode. Everybody's got an opinion about what they think the tiers of heroes are in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And we kind of have this lucky thing where we record every Tuesday like clockwork. So we can kind of look at everyone's tier lists, meld them all together, and also take into account the buffs and nerfs that happened this week and kind of have a talk. And so that's what I put together here. I have looked at Firebats, Savitz's, Just Saiyans, and Raven's tier lists. And kind of, I looked at those, kind of melded them together. And when I had to make choices, brought in my own damn opinion, because it's our show, Jocelyn. So
imagine that.
Yeah. But yeah, so for like the heroes that I think are best, I'm going to kick it off with AFK. I think, and if you are unfamiliar, listeners at home, with AFK, the passive hero power is that you skip your first 2 turns and start with a minion from taverns tier 3 and 4 on turn 3. That is amazing. Taking damage in turn 1 and 2, it is negligible levels of damage.
Right, because so turn 1, you're probably going to take 2 damage, right? Because you're the way damage is dealt in the game is it's your tavern tier level plus the minions that survive their tavern tier levels, right? So you always have a base damage of whatever your tavern tier is, and then add to that however many minions survive, what their ratings are, add that all together, do the damage to the opponent. So on turns 1 and 2, you're probably maybe you drop 5 or 6 health.
Yes. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you go up against another hero I think is top tier, which is the Curator. This is the hero that has the most potential to do the most damage in the early stages, because the Curator's passive hero power is starting the game with a 1/1 amalgam that has all minion types. I think Curator's right up there because amalgams are nuts. The regular 3-4 amalgams that you can actually draft in Battlegrounds, I think, is one of the best minions in the entire mode. It doesn't matter what you're drafting, amalgams are great. And all of the first places I've had were when I got a triple amalgam.
So question about that. Does it count as an amalgam? So if you get 2 3/4s, then okay.
It's a unique amalgam.
It's its own thing. Okay.
It's a unique amalgam. But the thing is, it has all minion types. So any buffs you're laying down, tribe-specific buffs, any battle cries you're drafting and playing, is going to benefit this 1/1 that you're starting the game with. And I've seen a lot of Curators win games, and I think every Curator I have seen win a game, I haven't won a game as Curator yet, still had their initial 1/1 amalgam. And just a game I played today, I think it was a 42-42 amalgam by the end of the game. The sky is the limit for this 1/1. And yeah, again, if you're playing AFK, by the way, this is the worst case scenario. You see a Curator and you take 1 extra damage because they've got 1 extra star add into their early game damage from their amalgam. That's your worst case scenario. But AFK.
Yeah. So one thing about playing AFK that I've found, because I pick her whenever she's offered to me, I really, really like her, is this is the tip actually that I got off of Twitter when I was talking about what my favorite heroes were to play. And so essentially what the tip was is play the discover the 4-star minion first, because that will be the more powerful thing. And since you haven't actually done anything in your first 2 turns, you haven't decided what you're necessarily going to be building around yet. So the 4-star minion is going to always be better than the 3-star minion. So that's a better way to actually pick your strategy going forward. So pick the 4-star minion, then pick the 3-star minion. And I find her a little bit tricky just because I find that to be a really, really fast turn. It's turn 3, you have to discover your 4 tier, discover your 3 tier, see if there's anything in the tavern that you actually want. And it goes by really, really quickly. I can't make my decisions fast enough, but I think I'll get better over time as I learn, what the all the minions in the pool and stuff.
It's an important consideration, especially if you're new to this mode, but it is 1 turn that is significantly harder than playing most other heroes. And then after that, you're pretty much back to regular Battlegrounds.
Exactly.
And it's harder because you're about to hit the field with more power than anyone else in the game currently has.
Yes.
AFK is crazy. Curator's really good. I'm also putting Nefarian in the same top tier as AFK and Curator. I saw him in the early days getting some hate because I get it. Again, listeners at home, for the audio only crowd, it's a 1 gold hero power on Nefarian at the start of next combat. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. This is a late game hero, and I'm going to explain why. 1 damage to the whole board. Yeah, okay, maybe, it's only 1 gold. So this is something you could do first turn if you really wanted to. And if people are drafting token generators, which they should, because they can sell those tokens to make a little extra gold next turn, cool, you're going to be clearing them out. But the Nefarian's value is in, you're planting your flag saying, I'm going to get top spot, or top 2. I'm going for top 2. Because one of the strongest strategies you can do right now is Divine Shields. Divine Shields are really strong. in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And Nefarian, for 1 gold, being able to mitigate every divine shield on the enemy board is worth so much late game. It is worth so damn much. Because the only thing more terrifying than divine shield is a divine shield poisonous. So at the very least, you're like upping your chances of killing the poisonous thing you swing into because that divine shield is gone. Like it's just worth so much, Jocelyn. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I mean, so in terms of like divine shield heroes, like if you get Nefarian offered to you, because like you can never have duplicate heroes in the game, right? So if I have Nefarian offered to me, no one else got him offered to them. So by that logic, if you see like Nefarian and George the Fallen, who has the ability to give any minion divine shield for a price, then, maybe you're not as worried about choosing Nefarian because, no one else is going to be able to divine shield their minions because it's not in anybody else's pool. So like drafting your hero is actually, and paying attention to what you're offered in terms of what you then know you won't be facing is actually a really, really important part of the game.
Yeah.
Much like the mulligan in regular Hearthstone.
Yes, it is exceptionally important. And then this is probably up for debate, but again, it's our show. So I'm putting Maleficent up here. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. This Maleficent Mana Storm has the passive hero power that mechs in Bob's Tavern have +1/+1. That's really important. Like your Mecharo token isn't going to be a 2/2, just
right.
FYI. It's only the what you initially bought from Bob's Tavern. Also, anything you discover when you get a triple is not going to have that +1/+1. A lot of times, doesn't matter, especially if it's a junk bot. Take the junk bot. Doesn't matter. That card is broken, and I can't believe it didn't get nerfed. Hadn't thought about this. I bet that's hard for them because they want the cards to be the same as they are in constructed Hearthstone. Anyways, side thought. I'm putting Maleficent up here, which means, Jocelyn, I think we got to put King Mukla up here. Because we were talking, like, this is basically the same, if not better.
You were saying a lot of the tier lists you looked at were before the patch, right? So I think having Mukla all the way down in the where even is he? I think that he absolutely is deserving of being up. Wherever you decide to put Maleficent, I think that is also where Mukla belongs because his bananas can go on anything.
Yeah, I think Mukla is arguably better. Maybe
since the change,
maybe factually better. I think that's fine. I think it's a safe thing to say. So the only time you're going to miskin the banana is when you discover. So it's similar to Maleficent in that way, but again, you can put this one.
Well, yeah, but like you can late game. I mean, you could literally just buy a whole bunch of beasts that, especially once they actually change it, so you can sell back from hand. I mean, you could just buy a bunch of beasts just to get the +1/+1 and buff up your board a little bit, right?
Oh,
so yeah, you can exactly. Kagatar in the chat room saying you're able to buy garbage beasts for extra bananas. That's basically what I'm getting at. Like you don't have to use the actual minion you buy because just the fact that it's a beast is going to activate your hero power. So,
which by the way, only do that if you have nothing better to do because a banana is not worth 3 gold.
But it's like, no, but like sometimes I'm sitting there floating gold because I have nothing to do because my hero power doesn't necessarily interact with my minion type. So if I'm sitting there and I'm going to float 4 gold at the end of a 10 gold round, Mukla has a way to actually make some use of that. Whereas, other heroes don't necessarily. So it might only be +1/+1. Like I'm not saying it should be your be all end all strategy, but especially like late game, at least you're getting something out of garbage minions.
Yeah. But again, if we believe, and I believe this, that mechs and beasts are the top dog right now. Maleficent and King Mukla are great. Like, I think both of these, like, they're more beginner strats because they are locking you into, or at least attempting to. They're definitely pushing you in a direction for where you're going to draft. Yes. They're pushing you towards a strategy. So I would also put them in more like new player territory, but they're good. Like beasts and mechs, I think are the top tribes right now. So take them. Like I've taken Maleficent every time she's been offered. I've had one instinct of Battlegrounds where I haven't gotten top 4 with Maleficent, and that was because I had the worst draft I've ever had in Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
Which happens sometimes.
Yeah, I just saw no mechs. I think I found like a Mecharoo. I was like, wow.
Well, and see, this is the thing about the shared pool, and that when you see Mukla, Jaraxxus, and Maleficent, like I was talking about earlier, people know that that's the direction you're going to go. So they might choose, if they see something really powerful in one of those tribes, they're going to take them right off the bat because they know that as good as it is for them, it's going to be even better for you. So they might choose to go down that route since they know that that's the way you're going to. And if they get offered the good stuff, like, why wouldn't they take it?
Yep. That being said, I got second place right before the show on Patchwork, and I was definitely the third tier down mech drafter. Like, and I saw it, but I was already too deep, and I was just like, my only out is to find Junkbot, and I found Junkbot. All my other mechs were like not triples, kind of trash, not the best thing in the world, and it carried me to second place.
Yeah.
So,
and I like Patchwork just as a hero. Like, we're kind of getting down into the, still pretty good tier, I guess. So not S tier anymore. What is it? A after that? I'm not as familiar with tier lists because I don't cover MOBAs. So
no one can agree how they want to list their tier lists. I'm a fan of S, A, B, C, but for today, like, you and I don't deal in absolutes. That's never been our jam. But
we like gradients.
I have pretty strong opinions right now about Battlegrounds. I wanted to share that with everybody, but I also want to let you know that it has been informed by other tier lists as well. I was kind of looking at everything, what I agree with, what I don't agree with, what the commonalities are, and that's everything kind of being presented to you today. But Maleficent and King Mukla, that's definitely us going, we think these are top tier, play them.
Yeah.
So yeah, go play these heroes. But yeah, so AFK, Curator, Nefarian, Maleficent, Manastorm, and King Mukla, that's the Angry Chickens, like the best. That's what we think are the best right now. We're gonna get into what I'm calling really good, not the best, but really good. And Jocelyn, I only put 2 heroes in really good, and one of them was the Rat King.
This is one that I mentioned earlier because, like I said, he has the ability, because of his passive hero power, he has the ability to kind of go down any tribal route. So his hero power does switch every turn.
Yeah, it's a passive hero power that whenever you buy a insert tribe here, give it +1/+2, swaps type each turn. I believe it always starts as Beast and then it randomizes from there on out.
I think so too. But I'm not 100% sure. I haven't actually played him yet. I've played against him, and I think he's hard to make use of, but I think he's really, really powerful. So I think it's all about like making the right decisions in each tavern and possibly like bypassing your hero power sometimes, but then other times maybe like buying a minion with a really good battle cry that you're going to play in a couple of turns or something. Like I think he's difficult, but I've also seen Rat Kings totally destroy.
Yes. I'm torn on this one. So, I was talking about Maleficent, I was talking about Mukla, saying I think they're great heroes and I think they're also good for new players. I'm of 2 minds with Rat King because I think the skill floor to play a game of Battlegrounds as Rat King is probably one of the higher ones. But I would tell you, if you're new to auto battlers, play the Rat King. Because even though I think the skill floor is a little high, I think it's going to force you to be more flexible than you might otherwise be. I think regardless of what hero you're playing. Yeah, if you play Maleficent, you're really going to gravitate to Max and Beasts if you're playing Mukla. But Rat King, the hero power itself is random and flexible, and I think that's going to put your brain in a really healthy learning space to learn how to draft in an auto battler. So I would say if you're new to this mode, play Rat King. And it also feels the most Hearthstone-y to me because when we play Hearthstone, I think no matter what mode, when you get to the nitty-gritty, to the best players, it's kind of adapting to the situation. Like not going by the book, not just following that guide, not just following HS replay stats, you've been in so many different scenarios, so many different times, what the best play with the assets that you have in your hand, what that is. And that's what playing the Rat King feels like to me, because there are going to be many turns in a session as the Rat King where your hero power is not going to line up with what the draft is showing you. and recognizing that and drafting the correct things in spite of the fact that you're not getting the buff, that's going to win you games. You're going to learn better things, and you're going to learn lessons from Rat King that I think are going to carry over to every other hero in Battlegrounds. So I think it's a great learning tool. And on top of that, I think it's one of the best heroes in the game.
Fair enough.
Play Rat King, everybody. And also, under really good, I'm putting Patchwork. This is the other one. Passive hero power. Start the game. Passive hero power. Start with 60 health instead of 40. Passing to you, Joce.
I really like him because I really didn't know what I was doing. So it's really good because it's like when you don't know what you're doing, you can take a couple of big hits and still live. So you get to see a little bit further into the game. I know like that extra 20 health might be a little bit of a crutch, but to be honest, it's one that I needed when I first started playing. So it certainly can be a crutch, like if you're new and you don't really know what you're doing, but like I just think Patchwork's one of the best heroes. That's a 50% health increase. Every other hero in this game has 40. Patchwork has 60. That's nuts. And like I know, like obviously healing, we look at it, we value it more, I think now, especially with combo decks like Holy Fire Paladin or Holy Wrath Paladin and whatnot, that we didn't like in the really early days. I remember like when we first came to Angry Chicken, 2/3 of us were playing freaking Magic. And we're just like, oh yeah, healing, you just lose slower. But that's not the case here, because losing slower in this means living to 1 or 2 or 5 more turns than you would have otherwise. It's a chance to continue fighting, and that means everything in this, especially when making top 4, is basically a win. So I still do. I'll be honest, as somebody who doesn't play any other auto battlers and being a total noob, like top 4, saying top 4 is a win, I'm like, no, it's not. First is a win. If you're not first, you're last, Garrett. I don't understand where the idea of coming in the top half is a win.
Because of the randomness. Like you can just get screwed by the draft. And so
that's true. I've been screwed by the draft. I've been screwed by the random attacks, like with, a poisonous going into my big guy, or, my hyena dying super early or something. I get the randomness, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, no, I need to be first. First is win.
Listen, I watched Talladega Nights the other day too, while my fever was at its peak and I had so much Sudafed in my system I couldn't see straight. It made it even funnier, which I didn't know was possible. But yeah, it's something I think as you get more experience, you're really going to understand it, because you're going to get into really poor draft scenarios where you still eke out a decent board and claw your way to a 4th place victory. You're going to feel proud about it. And I think you're going to start to really understand kind of where that comes from. And also, you're most likely going to gain points if you get top 4, so which is like factually is a win in this particular game system.
Yeah, you're coming out on the plus side instead of the minus. That makes sense.
Right. For no other reason, just the way the ratings shake out. So
yeah, but back to Patchwork.
Yeah.
The other thing is you can level them up really fast, right? Because you have that extra health to play with. So even if you just level your tavern over and over and over, then you still might come out on top in terms of health, right?
Yes.
So you still might not have have lost all the way down to the 40 health that the other heroes start with. Even if you buy no minions and do no battling, you just go tavern, 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 tavern.
If Patchwork comes up, pick him. And on turn 1, if you get a token like an Alley Cat or is it Tide Hunter? Murloc Tide Hunter?
Oh yeah, the 2/1 Murloc that gives you a 1/1. Yeah.
Yeah. Grab those. Grab those. And then turn 2, you just level up. Turn 3, sell 1, level up again. Just go straight to rank 4, and you will still, in most cases, have around 45 health left over. Like, go get to tier 4 as fast as you possibly can, and you will still be, in most cases, 5 health away of the person that didn't lose any rounds.
Yeah. So, quick question about the whole turn 2 level up your tavern. Doesn't basically everyone do that?
Basically, yeah. Towards the end of last week, I noticed people getting a little more aggressive in their play. This is where I think people are learning how to play Murlocs. Where I was talking about earlier in the podcast, that I think if you understand their value, especially if you're left with no other choice, draft them and then, lean into something else, especially if you can find amalgams along the way, because then you can keep getting, you can kind of start selling your Murlocs off, but you keep your amalgams, and while you're buffing your Murlocs, your amalgams are getting buffed as well, but you're going to keep those amalgams and kind of pivot in a different direction. Or maybe you're just going for Megasaur, and seeing if Divine Shield poison can get you through, because sometimes it can. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of thoughts in that. I think people are starting to learn, I'm starting to learn how to play an aggressive game. But yeah, for the most part, ranking up to rank 2 on turn 2 is a pretty damn safe bet. You should definitely be doing it as patchwork. And then you should definitely go to rank 3 on the next turn and rank 4 on the turn after that. Get a token minion on one, if not, at least still get a minion so you can sell it, if nothing else, to get to rank 4 or tier 4 as fast as humanly possible. I love patchwork. This was the last thing I played right before today's show. Just eked out a second place victory with some really rough draft options. So love it. Absolutely love patchwork. So we have one more sponsor to thank before we move on and kind of get to the good, the bad, and the, oh my God, why do I have 3 of these as an option? And that's HelloFresh. They're sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. If you're unfamiliar, they're the meal kit delivery service. They're going to deliver fresh, ready-to-cook meals in a, how do they do that, insulated box that lasts way too long on my front porch in the Florida climate, right to your doorstep. Ready to cook, step-by-step instructions, from their step-by-step recipes with pictures, so you can even visually find out if you're doing it right, to their pre-measured ingredients. You're going to have everything you need to get a wow-worthy dinner on the table in just about 30 minutes. You also get to say goodbye to grocery store trips and takeout food and those expensive apps that add more money onto getting food to your damn house, which I was really mad about, by the way, at BlizzCon, Jocelyn. In-N-Out doesn't let any of those services deliver their food.
I know.
Listen, In-N-Out.
And you were so sad.
You already have the worst fries in the world that are soggy as hell the second they come out of the fryer. They can't possibly be any worse when they show up because they were delivered. Rethink your stance, all right? Because your burgers hold up just fine.
Because Garrett needed it, okay?
I needed it. I got it before the airport, FYI.
I saw.
But back to HelloFresh. I don't need to put on pants. I don't need to go to the grocery store. That's fantastic for me. I love pants. That's a line I don't like to cross very often.
Especially when you're sick. I mean, the fact that you can just have healthy food and it's on your doorstep and then you just go make it. It's fast to make and then it's going to be good for you and it's going to taste good.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. It helped me a lot the last week for sure. There's also something for everyone, from family recipes to calorie smart, vegetarian. They also have fun menu series, things like Hall of Fame and craft burgers. Hall of Fame's great because especially if you like one that came, it's a pretty solid chance you're going to see it pop up again in the future. And there's it's really easy to change your delivery days. Also your food preferences. You can skip a week whenever you need. I took full advantage of that last month because I was basically never home. So that I really like that. You can do it right in the app. You can do it on the website. It's super convenient. And I'm just a fan, man. There's next week, there's a chimichurri pork tenderloin dish on the menu.
Ooh.
Oh, I want it. I don't know about you, but I grew up eating, let's just call them really dry pork chops, which kind of put me off.
I thought I hated pork chops.
Same. I thought I hated pork. This put me off of pretty much all pork that wasn't bacon or thinly sliced red discs on my pizza.
True.
And for some reason, I just always thought tenderloin and chops were the same kind of pork. I was so wrong because I haven't had this chimichurri dish specifically, but other HelloFresh tenderloin meals have been tastier than Toki's Hero Power when it costed 1 mana. It's just, it's just the best thing ever. I love it. And the best thing, there's no nerfs coming for tenderloin. So check it out. HelloFresh.com.
Dork.
Yeah, check it out. You can get 9 free meals, by the way. That's their offer for listeners of The Angry Chicken. Go to HelloFresh.com/TAC9 and enter TAC9. Again, that's 9 free meals from HelloFresh when you go to HelloFresh.com/TAC9 and enter TAC9. Thank you, chat room, for letting me know that the chop is part of the tenderloin, but clearly not the best part. Let's get back to ranking these heroes. Let's get to what I'm going to call good. They're not the best. They're not really good. They're just good.
I've had good luck, I guess, with them.
Yeah.
At least these first four, Shutterwalk, Yogg, George, and Dancing Daryl.
Dancing Daryl. Yeah, let's
Dancing Daryl.
Let's kick it off with Shutterwalk. You haven't played him. It's a 2 gold hero power. Your next battle cry this turn triggers twice. 2 gold. Nothing to scoff at. It does take away from your economy. So you should really. My dogs are barking. I'm going to close my door. It's driving me crazy. I'll be right back, everybody.
I think what Garrett was going to say, or maybe I should just wait for him. I'll just wait for him. I wish I knew / could sing elevator music. Be entertained. Oh, now Garrett's giving me a look.
Did you do a good job filling for me?
Yeah, I was trying to do a fancy dance.
Ah, lovely. So back to Shutterwalk. I think this certainly leans late game. It can really sure up Murloc and demons though. Like when I
mean sure up?
Sure up. You've never heard the term sure up?
No, I think it's shore up.
Whatever.
Now I'm totally gonna Google it. Anyways, I know what you mean. It's like you take a bad thing and then you like reinforce it.
Yeah. Whatever. Thank you for being a living, breathing YouTube comment.
I'm sorry.
So relevant to the conversation right now.
I know.
Yeah. Anyways, the times where I have encountered Murlocs or demons and they have terrified the Ebba-Livin out of me, it's because it was a Shutterwalk drafting them. The health demons can get with a Shutterwalk, the double Megasaur onto Murlocs and the insanity that it can bring. It's terrifying. I think this is where those tribes come alive. And if demons or Murlocs like somehow get buffed, I am terrified to see what happens when a Shutterwalk gets a hold of them.
Yeah. Shutterwalk's really powerful. I think there's a lot of it's basically it like gives you access to like Bran, but without board space.
Yes.
It's not every battle cry, but still. You can use it very strategically and it's super, super powerful.
Yeah.
And then you sell it back to Bob and then it's back in the pool and you can do it again next turn.
Absolutely. So very, very good. And also there's the I vaguely talked about demons, but it's the Annihilin Battle Master, the one that gets 1 health for each damage your hero has taken. Well, double that, and just see the biggest number you've ever seen on a minion ever.
Those things get gross.
Yes, they do, but they can't really kill much. So, and you can't give demons poisonous, thank God.
Yet.
Yeah, I guess Professor Putricide used to get poisonous.
Oh, really?
At one point. That would have been busted. Absolutely busted. So Shutterwalk, I would put under good. Yogg Saron, I would also put under good. 2 gold hero power. Hire a random minion in Bob's Tavern and give it +1/+1.
I kind of I like this. And maybe it's just, I mean, I've had luck, but maybe it's just, I've been lucky, but I like Yogg. I like his flavor. I like the fact that it's like super random and RNG because that fits with his flavor. I like Yogg. I've had a lot of luck with him.
I really like him too. I would still put the Rat King above him, but again, I'm not putting Yogg in the basement. I'm putting this as solid. Instead of good, we could have called this solid. These are solid picks.
I kind of like him in the later game as well, because once you have a little bit more currency, like once you have a little bit more gold to play around with, you can do the thing that you could kind of always do with RNG and Hearthstone, where like you could just buy the stuff that you didn't really want and then narrow it down to like a 50-50 or something of using your hero power and then buffing the thing that you really do want. So I don't know. I like him. I think he's fun to play with.
You'd have to have a lot of mana, because what if I still need 3 at the end of that, because if it misses, well, I guess if it misses, it doesn't matter. You would have to leave 3 anyway. So yeah. That makes sense. Hadn't really thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I mean, it's obviously super strong early game because it's like, yeah, we tend to lean towards token generators for turn 1 so that we can cash a token in later and get an extra gold. But like, just whatever. Get an extra +1/+1. See what happens. Roll the dice. It's Yogg-Saron. Do the thing. I like Yogg-Saron. Also, in the same kind of tier of heroes, I'm going to put Dancing Daryl. This seems to be, looking at all of the tier lists that I've seen, one of the most divisive heroes.
Oh man, some people think that this is the best thing ever. Some people think it is the worst and needs to just be removed from the game. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So,
I've seen more arguments about Dancing Daryl in the last week than any other hero on this list.
I think Dancing Daryl is a good hero. I don't think it's top tier. I think this is right in the middle where like I'm happy to take Dancing Daryl. But you know, if I ran across like an AFK or a Rat King or a Patchwork, I would pick them instead. But
yeah, I think someone's going to figure out exactly how to play him, and then it's just going to explode.
Yeah. So the passive hero power on Dancing Daryl is that after you sell a minion, randomly give 2 minions in Bob's Tavern +1/+1, which means then you can buy them and they'll have that buff, but there's also no guarantee it's going to land on the minions you want it to land on. But what has come up time and time again today? The strategy of taking an alley cat and selling that 1/1 to make an extra gold. Like that alone, just like, why would you not take an alley cat or a Tide Hunter in the early game if you got Dancing Daryl? There's no reason not to do that. So I like Dancing Daryl. And again, I think this, you know, I think of this kind of how I think of Rat King. Like, it's not always going to be in your favor, but when it is in your favor, it's great. And when it isn't, you should still recognize that it's probably not worth drafting the thing that got the buff if it's not playing towards your strategy. And I think it's going to make you a better player in the long run.
Right.
You know, unless it's still pretty early game. You know, there are those times where you just go wide and it's whatever. You know, I've got 7 minions. It's still like early to mid game. They've all got buffs. Cool. That worked for you. But like late game, like, what are you doing? Why are you taking the buffed minion just because it's got a +1/+1? That's it's not doing much for you. So, but I think it's great. Also,
I like Elvix in the chat room. It's a freaking Murloc in a top hat. What's the issue?
Well, I mean, if we were going art alone, Dancing Daryl wins. Dancing Daryl's the best hero in the game. I think that's another divisive one is George the Fallen. 4 mana hero power, most expensive hero power in the game. Give a friendly minion Divine Shield. I mean, that is.
I played with him just before the show, and it was really, really powerful because I ended up with this like mix of heroes or minions that was kind of like half beast, half mech, and then just being able to give that extra layer of protection to my. I actually ended up with triples on the Scavenging Hyena and the Junk Bot, and I was like, Divine Shield on those things, and oh my god, it won me the match. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now as long as there's, and Cat Guitar and Tyrant saying, as long as there's no Nefarian. Very, very true. He's awesome.
You have no way of knowing that because the picks are hidden until all the picks are placed. And that's also fine. Like, I've had games where I went Divine Shield and Nefarian just got beat up by everyone else and lost before I died. So like, it's not always a guarantee. Like, you've lost the game because there's a Nefarian. I also find George extremely interesting because so many of the heroes push you in one direction, like one. And I think George pushes you away from only one direction. And I think that direction is Murlocs, because we've mentioned it multiple times in this talk. We don't think Murlocs have a particularly strong late game. If you're going Murlocs, like, your one saving grace is Megasaur. And a lot of other players aren't drafting for Murlocs at the moment. If they're taking Megasaur, it's for their amalgam. So it is still contested, but it's not the most contested thing in the world. So if you're going George, I would lean away from Murlocs, but feel free to just go down any other path you want. Because rad. Now you can have Divine Shield demons.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the thing that I noticed, the further on into the game that I got, the more mana I was floating. I talked about that a couple times. And so if you're going to float a lot of mana, you might as well be using it to protect your minions. I mean, you might not be able to do anything with your hero power early game, but a couple of key minions getting Divine Shield on them is really, really, really strong.
Yep. Yep, and Elvix brought it up. Like in mech, unless you're George, the only way you're giving Divine Shield to your mechs is by also adding taunt to them, making them a target. With George, you can give Divine Shields to mechs behind taunt, which is super strong. So I like George. And then also, I feel like Lich King, a lot of people can't seem to decide, but I'm going to put Lich King in this category of like solid heroes. It's a 1 gold hero power at the start of next combat. Give your rightmost minion reborn. And
I haven't seen anyone playing with this guy. Not since like day 1 or 2.
I certainly have, but it doesn't seem to be the most popular hero by any means. But also, like, you can do some pretty crazy things with that reborn. And like the other thing that's interesting,
it's true,
is it has applications throughout the entire game. It's only 1 gold, so it's easy to weave in. That's what I really like about it. And if you make it to a late game, have you gone up against the what the hell is the snake? A gas coiler. Gas coiler is like a 6-star tavern
that minion. Guy. Yeah.
So it's 6-star, 7/7 with Death Rattle. Summon 2 random Death Rattle minions. Make this the rightmost minion in your late game as Lich King. Gross. It's just, that was the first time I went up against a Lich King. I'm like, oh, that's your end game plan. That's nasty, but also
I feel like he should be poisonous, and I know that doesn't, whatever. But it's just that snake looks poisonous, okay?
yeah. But also, like, I'm glad you mentioned poisonous because my Exna, that's kind of gross to reborn my Exna too. Because late game, like if it's the rightmost minion, it's probably dying last. So we killed one thing. Hopefully, all the divine shields are taken care of at that point. So it doesn't matter that my Exna just came off of reborn, has no buffs, whatever. It's got poisonous. Slam it into something, it's gonna kill it. I don't care how much health your demon has. So, it's like, okay. So Lich King's hero power is average power level, early mid game. But if you run it out to 6-star tavern and you're picking up some of these late game minions, you can do some pretty gnarly stuff with the Lich King hero power, and you should be planning to win. in Battlegrounds. Like, so I like Lich King. I like Lich King, I think, more than I see a lot of other people kind of digging on him.
Yeah,
it's not just my Arthas fanboyism.
Yeah, I think people definitely aren't giving him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, or I don't know, but they're not, I think, valuing him as highly as he can be used. And that's kind of how I feel with a lot of the minions that we've got in the good category. It's like, they require a little bit more setup and understanding, I think. And if you actually know how to play them and what you should be targeting with them, like Shudderwock, Yogg, Dancing Daryl, George, and Lich King, I think they are all much more complicated, but I think can be super powerful with the right positioning and with the right, I guess, draft.
Yeah, positioning is super important, by the way.
I still haven't quite figured all of my positioning stuff out, but
if you're
I'm getting there.
And you're playing mechs, get your taunts the hell away from your junk bots.
Yes.
Because those hydras are going to come in and kill your junk bot before they buff, and it makes you sad and you feel stupid. So before we move into not so great, I'm going to call an audible here and ask you, Jocelyn, how do you feel about the great Akazam Zarak? This is the hero power, 2 gold, to discover a secret and put it into the battlefield. Because
absolutely terrible.
Okay,
I've never seen this work out ever.
I think his Akazam Zarak is kind of crap too, but I had so many people go to bat for Akazam Zarak on Twitter today because I was trying to find a definitive list of Akazam Zarak's secrets, or the traps, essentially. Well, secrets. They're not all traps. And I did find them. You go to Hearthstone and just sort by Battlegrounds and secrets, and they'll pop up. So it's Venom, Strike Trap, Snake Trap, Splitting Image, Effigy, Auto Defense Matrix, Avenge, Redemption, Hand of Salvation, and Ice Block. And so you're going to be discovering, so you're going to see 3 at a time. And I heard some cool stories, but they all sound like high rolls to me. Like, Ice Block won me a game. And I'm like, that's rad. I feel like you can't really count on that though. Because like you're not guaranteed to discover an ice block or be in a situation where that's going to help you. So.
I think the only time I saw one of them actually put up a secret, I think it might have been Snake Trap, and it was like it activated like late game and then didn't give, and then it was like, okay, yeah, you got snakes. Yay.
Yeah.
Like why?
Yeah. I was going to put him down in not so great. And we didn't really have much time to talk before the show today. So I was kind of curious where you're going at, because Twitter made me like double think this for a second, because I had so many people who were like, oh my God, I'm in the best games with Akazam Zarak. And
well, I feel like there are some very good ones here. Like Avenge, not terrible, but the thing that you have to remember is that these take place, these buffs, in the combat phase, which means they don't persist. So if you have Avenge, you get that in one combat phase and then that buff is gone. And also your secrets go away, right? Like once they pop, you don't get them every round.
Yeah,
so,
it would be busted otherwise.
Yeah. So, I mean, Venom Strike to get the poisonous is good. Ice Block, probably good. Possibly Redemption, good. But again, like where these only go off in one set of combat, that's where I start to think that they're just not that great. Like Venom Strike, you might want later game to try to combat those high health demons. Ice Block, obviously, you only have to roll it once and it's going to be good because it'll buy you an extra round and maybe a tournament win. But I don't know. It's not the most random ever, right? It's 9 secrets and it's a discover. It's not, push the button and just get a secret, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, but I have not seen him work. I've not seen him win. I have not chosen him because he seems like garbage compared to the other choices I had. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
not a fan.
Where I was looking originally at heroes like Dancing Daryl and Yogg Saron, going, oh, this is too random. I don't think it's good enough. I was definitely wrong, but to me, I think Akazam Zarak is the example of too inconsistent to bet on. Again, there's still definitely heroes I would take, or I would take Akazam Zarak over, but not that many for me personally. So also,
I mean, yeah, it would be totally different. I think he would be like top tier if like the tokens generated by the secret, if they persisted, because then you could just sell them in the next phase. If the Avenge buff stuck around, like, if all of these things stuck around through your next tavern phase, then yeah, I think absolutely busted. But yeah, it's just the way that he works right now, not good enough for me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're gonna stick that. We're gonna keep Akazam Zarak in the not so great category and move on to Bartendotron. The lie of single player mode.
Yeah, they actually put him into Battlegrounds. I mean, they talked about him for months and months and months, but it's not like he ever actually really existed in Hearthstone. And they were like, you know what? We've decided that the myth, the legend that is the robot bartender, he deserves to actually be created in Hearthstone. Let's put him into Battlegrounds. That's how that happened.
Yeah. Bartendotron's passive hero power reduces the cost of tavern tiers by 1. It's just not the most impactful hero power in the world. You can try and go for a great strategy of getting high tiers sooner, but Patchwork is just a million times better than that, in my opinion. Because you still end with more health than anyone else in the game. Even after just getting smacked in the face for 4 turns in a row as Patchwork than you do as Bartendotron.
Yeah, I think he's still a solid pick. Like I might have moved him up into the good instead of the not so great. He's definitely on that kind of borderline, because I feel like if you want to go for that like late game greedy, get to the taverns earlier, then he's a solid pick if you aren't offered Patchwork. I totally agree with what you're saying about Patchwork just being objectively better, but you don't always have that choice. So I think depending on who he's up against, I think Bartendotron is the one that I would choose more often than anyone else in like this tier and below.
I would pick him over Akazam Zarak.
Yeah.
And
I would also pick him over the Pyramid Dude and Queen Wag Toggle for sure.
I would pick him over every hero we're about to talk about. following.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I feel like maybe he needs to be up with the other guys in the good category where we were talking about, how they are not the best choices, but they have their own unique ways to play. And if you make good decisions with them, they can be powerful. And I feel like that's kind of where Bartendertron lands. So I'm on the fence about him, whether he belongs in good or not so great. But I mean, really, you're splitting hairs at that point. He's okay. He's okay.
Yeah, I think I would still put him here because I'm not stoked when I get Bartendertron, but agree to disagree, and we're splitting hairs at this point. I agree with everything you said. So let's move on to Queen Wagtoggle, who I think I would also put in the not so great category.
Yeah, she's not so great.
1 gold hero power. Give a random friendly mech, demon, murloc, and beast +1 health. Really, to me, this just comes down to +1 health is just not that impactful.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the later into the game you go, health is less impactful, and you're not going to get those 4 buffs probably, right? Like you're going to probably go down 1 tribal route, maybe 2. So then the later on in the game you're going, the health isn't worth as much, and also you're only going to get it to hit 1 or 2 minions as opposed to 4. So the later in the game it goes, the worse it gets. I've
had some pretty successful games where I've gone kind of agnostic. And I think Wagtoggle would be decent. You've gone
the menagerie build.
Is that what people are calling it?
I think I saw that somewhere. There was the menagerie or there was another word for it. Anyways, yeah, but a little bit of everything build.
Yeah. Sometimes that's just kind of where you end up going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and so Wagtoggle is good in that way. It's just at the end of the day, +1 health, it's just not that good. It's not that important.
If it was 2 gold and 2 health, would that be better? Because I think if it's 1 gold and 2 health, that's disgusting and too much. But if it's 2 gold, 2 health, would that make a difference?
I don't think 1 gold, 2 health would actually be that bad.
No? I feel like that would be just so much.
Attack is, I think, worth more than health. And I would hold up Microbot as my proof of that statement. And I think 2 for 2 is not, it's health. It's not that much. It's not worth a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think health is worth that much, especially because Divine Shield exists in this mode. And so as far as the kind of agnostic leaning heroes go, I think Wagtoggle is without a doubt the worst of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do love her earrings though.
Yeah.
The little lantern earrings are amazing.
and also Pyramid, who I'm going to put in this exact same category of not so good here, 1 gold hero power, give a random friendly minion +2 health. So it has no limitations. You're just paying 1 gold for 2 health. And I also think this hero is bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, this hero is just strictly worse, right? Because for 1 gold, Queen Wagtoggle can get up to 4 health, right? And he always just gets 2 health on 1 dude.
Health isn't worth that much, and you could get +2 health on a non-tribe minion, which some do exist.
Yes, some exist, but I mean, yeah,
it's not all tribes.
I think he's just strictly worse.
I just think they both aren't great, and
they're both terrible.
And I cuss at my monitor
the most terrible
when I have no other options. So, I think we're kind of just splitting hairs here. So I don't really have much to say about Wagtoggle or Pyramid. They're bland and unimpactful.
Mm-hmm.
Is where they kind of land for me. And then I'm going to go with I'm calling this avoid. Avoid. I have a lot of tiers in my tier system, Jocelyn.
You do. So not so great. There's even more after this.
Yes, which is, I never want to see these. Yeah. Anyway, avoid. I'm going to kick this off with Professor Putricide. 1 gold hero power at the start of your next combat. Give your leftmost minion +10 attack.
I've never seen this work out because it's pretty good at the beginning because you can kind of with your first attack, you're going to essentially kill whatever it runs into. However, I found that most people from the get-go have some sort of Voidwalker, homunculus, some sort of little cheapy taunt that they've put up to help build their strategy behind. So this is always going to be your very first attack is going to kill whatever it hits. And your opponent has probably set their board up in a way that they don't mind losing something like that early game. So I feel like when he's best in early game and doesn't really get better as the game goes on, and it's so easy to combat a big attack minion as the first attack, right? So
yeah. The reason so many of us have a hard time getting a triple Annoyotron is because so many of us grab a single Annoyotron just to kind of protect our life in the early to mid game.
Exactly. And
so Annoyotron just completely renders Rage Potion null and void. And chat room, you're not wrong. Yeah, it's not too bad on Cleave, but
that's a very specific set of minions that I don't always see. It's the Hydra thing, right?
You have two. You have Hydra and isn't Foe Reaver in here? It's a 6. Yeah, Foe Reaver or Foe Reaper 4000 is a 6-star minion,
right.
and
the Hydra is a 4, right? I haven't seen.
Oh, Hydra is 4. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and Hydra is only really good. Yeah,
I haven't seen Putresides get that far.
Yeah, Hydra is only really good if you get a triple and continue buffing it. And Foe Reaper is 6 stars, and it's hard to find. So if you're picking Putricide, and you're like, I need Hydra and Foe Reaper, like that's a bad strategy. You're just not guaranteed to get that.
Yeah,
it's really unsuccessful, or it's not guaranteed. It's a lot. You're leaving a lot up to chance. So that's for that reason I avoid Putricide like the plague. See what I did there?
Yeah.
I'm also going to put, we can honestly probably talk about these two in tandem. Ragnaros the Fire Lord, 2 gold hero power at the start of next combat, deal 8 damage to 2 random enemy minions. And Patches the Pirate, 1 gold hero power at the start of next combat, deal 3 damage to 2 random enemy minions. I think these are both almost equally as bad as each other. I prefer Patches to Ragnaros personally.
Yeah, Patches is very much like a early game. If you go a really aggressive style, which like you said, people are starting to realize how best to actually do that. And so I feel like Patches himself is probably better because they both essentially do the same thing, but I don't know. It's like by the time Rag's hero power is going to make that big of a difference versus Patch's hero power, 8 damage no longer kills the things that you're going to be seeing, I guess. So yeah, I think equally bad, basically, except maybe Patches maybe ekes out just because if you build, I've had success, not wins, but I've had success building him out in a really, really aggressive, like Murloc type manner.
Yeah, I prefer Patches just because 1 gold is cheaper than 2, and late game I might get a Divine Shield, maybe even 2. And yeah, as it's being brought up by chat room, like Rag has that chance to snipe the Mama Bear, even if the Mama Bear is a triple. Like if they get the gold and it's an 8/8, you could get the snipe. But like again, there's 7 minions on board.
Very specific scenario.
Get back to
with
Future
a lot
Side.
of random.
I'm like, is that what you're hoping for? Like, I'm taking Ragnaros to snipe Mama Bear. Like, boy, I hope I'm not in that situation. Like, but like, sometimes your choices are limited, so it is important to know these outs. But also, like, these are the reasons why I'm we're putting Rag and Patches so low. But personally, I like. It's much more, I'm more likely to get value of removing Divine Shields than hoping for the Mama Bear snipe, because more people are most likely going to have Divine Shields than have Mama Bears. So to me, I'd rather have Patches than Ragnaros and just up my chances of winning more rounds against more opponents.
Hot Carl in the chat room saying it's a 28% chance. Yeah, okay. It's a 28% chance, assuming you get randomly matched up against an opponent who has randomly been offered in their tavern 3 Mama Bears. Like, it might be a 28% chance to push the button and hit a minion specifically, but there's a whole lot of random that goes into
to talk a little more isometric,
getting you in that specific scenario.
A little more top down here. Like if you look at kind of how we're laying things out here, like there's a lot more value being placed on heroes where their powers get you more value over more like a longer segment of the game. Like, yeah, I have a 28% chance to snipe a mama bear. Great. Well, you know what? I was tier 4 on turn 4 as a patchwork. That's worth so much more to me.
Yeah.
Than Ragnaros. So yeah, I think Ragnaros is one of the worst. I'm sorry, I like patches better. And then also in this group, ending it is going to be Trade Prince Gallywix, which this one I almost just want to leave alone because I still feel like maybe we're going to figure something out here. Because when I first saw Gallywix at BlizzCon, I was like, it seems kind of high skill cap. I feel like you could do some kind of
Yeah, he was the one that I played.
Yeah.
And I still think he's half decent. I've really liked using him. He's given me some really late game, super crazy swing turns sometimes, or I guess not late game, mid game, crazy swing turns sometimes because I can if I've got a decent board built up and I can, buy a tavern tier or something, like I don't necessarily need anything offered to me in the tavern. I can just buy a tavern tier before I'm supposed to be able to, or, I don't know. I've had some success, but he's definitely, like you say, I think he is a high skill cap. And I think there's a lot of planning that goes into him. And if you are facing, as you said, it seems the meta is going a little bit more aggressive. If you're going to be facing a lot of aggression, you can't play a bank style strategy. So
yeah,
I think he's an it depends, but I don't know if I'd put him all the way down with future side rag and patches.
I really like this is one that I am a little waffly on, but for the sake of today, I needed to find a place to put him, and I right now I don't like him.
I like him.
Because I'm like, yeah, it's 1 gold for gold that I can spend later, but 1 gold is a refresh, and I just think it's worth more right then and there. Get more information, see where your draft is going to be going. Even if you can't draft the things that turn, it sets you up for a freeze. It gives you information. Right now, I don't like the way Gallywix plays. And so that did, this is a personal thing for sure, but I don't like him right now.
Fair enough.
It's not just because he's Gallywix. But yeah. All right. You ready to dump on the 2 heroes we have left?
Yeah.
All right. This is what I'm putting in just bad. That is what I'm calling this category. And there's just 2 of them. So if you're going to take our list to heart and you've got 3 options unlocked, well, at least you can't get 3 just bad options. First up, Giant Finn. 1 gold hero power at the start of your next combat. Give your minions Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Murloc. 1/1 Murlocs just kind of suck. The best case scenario is you've got a war leader on board, and that's not that great compared to all of the other shenanigans you can do from spawning 1/1s from the other tribes. Any other tribe in Battlegrounds that can spawn a 1/1 has way better synergies than Murloc 1/1s.
Well, yeah, that's what we were talking about with Murlocs when we were talking about tribes just off the top, was that the idea that, the Scavenging Hyena and the Junk Bot, like when you are creating all of these tokens and you're, whether it's on the mech side or the beast side, when they die, and they're going to die before your growing minion attacks, like you get that extra synergy, you get those extra buffs on your super big things that are going to win you the match. So since Murlocs don't have that, and if one of the minions that gets introduced in our next balance patch, in our next update, if Murlocs get a growing minion, which I don't think they should, but if they do, then that totally changes Giant Finn. But the way that it stands right now, because there is no growing Murloc minion, this is just meh. Terrible. Like, why? Why would you want to do this when you could do any of the other things we've already talked about?
Agreed. In late game, it's just laughably bad.
Yeah.
Like even with a war leader. So, I don't even think they necessarily need a growing Murloc. Like it's just that so many of the other things I feel like could be busted. But if there was a way to apply poisonous to 1/1s as they pop out, suddenly it's good.
Yeah, that too. Like if Murlocs become like the poison tribe, then absolutely. If there's a way to say whenever you summon a Murloc, give it poisonous, then this does become a lot better. But the way the game currently stands, this is not good.
Yeah. That I feel like you would need to write a magic card though for that, because I feel like you couldn't have it just be give all 1/1 Murlocs you summon poisonous. Like you would need to cap it. Like give the first 3 or the first 4 1/1 Murlocs, and I just never seen a Hearthstone card like that.
Why would you have to cap it?
Because if it was infinite, that would just be kind of crazy.
But why?
Because then you would just have like
well, a
all the
Junkbot or a
poisonous.
hyena grow infinitely with one-ones.
No, I mean infinite applications of poison to 1/1s. If you're just constantly making 1/1s, that would just.
But how would you? It doesn't. This is at the start of your next combat. All your minions, so 7 minions at most.
That's why I'm saying if they made a minion like that almost had like a totem or aura effect that every time a 1/1 comes out, it gains poisonous. I'm talking in hypotheticals here. I feel like you would almost need to cap it to like a certain amount of 1/1s that spawn. Because I think like anything over 3, you start to get to the area where I'm pretty sure you would like guarantee victory. I think there's a number of 1/1s with poison where you would guarantee you'd win the game.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. We're talking in hypotheticals. Moving on. Don't pick Giant Fin. Terrible.
Giant Fin's bad right now.
And don't pick Lich Baziel. 0 gold hero power. It is activatable, though, because you take 3 damage and you add a gold coin to your hand. Health is worth a lot in Battlegrounds. And gold acceleration is cool, but taking 3 damage is not. 1 gold for 3 health doesn't seem worth it at all.
Yeah, and so if you had Mal'Ganis on board, then it would just be add a gold coin to your hand. But by the time you're getting there, then your hero power and the extra gold is not worth nearly as much as it is in the early game, right? So
yes,
there isn't even a possible real strategy that takes advantage of this in a way that really matters.
Yeah, we don't have any early game synergy for losing health.
Right. And there's no healing either. So there's no there's no heal bots. Like when this dies, your hero gets more health back. Like
yeah, I just assumed there was healing because I saw Baziel pretty early on at BlizzCon, but had a limited experience with Battlegrounds. I just assumed. I'm like, oh, what a rad hero power. If you run this with some heals, that'd be awesome. Oh, there's no heals.
Yeah. And we should say there's no heals right now. And I would say they probably won't add healing just because I feel the length of Battlegrounds is pretty good right now. You're in the 20-ish minutes range, depending on how well you do. And I think that that's a good length. You don't necessarily want to add healing to the game and then have multiple death rattle triggers, when you're in round 10, you're back up to 40 health or something crazy. Like, I feel like healing maybe doesn't fit in this mode. I'm kind of okay with it, but that means that Lich is never going to be good.
Yeah, I never want to say never, but I think it would be so disproportionately good for Baziel and so disproportionately terrible for anyone else in the game because your minions reset every round. You're not going to be healing your minions.
Right.
So the only thing you could ever do is heal your face.
Heal your face. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So yeah, and
so then it feels like since your minions reset, that means that every single round, because your minions always die or most of the time are going to die, then you're basically either winning and not taking damage or you're losing, but the damage is mitigated because you're healing. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing is that what's interesting in auto battlers is like the dilution of the pool in terms of quality. And especially, and Battlegrounds is unique because of hero powers. So yeah, if we added minions in and the only thing they did was heal, it'd be amazing for Baziel, and it would just make you rage if you were literally anyone else and they popped up because you're like, oh damn it, it's just taken up a slot from literally any other minion that would have been more impactful. So
well, I mean, Patchwork would probably make use of really good healing minions too, because he has such a higher cap, right? So he would just never die.
Yeah, it would depend on, I guess, how much healing the minions do or how many healing minions there are. And again, it's that balancing act of diluting the pool.
Yeah.
So
Battle Cry heals. Hot Carl in the chat room is probably right. Battle Cry heals would probably be okay. I was thinking specifically like Death Rattle heals, and I was like, that's terrible.
That would be an interesting way to make it slightly less terrible, because like if you attach it to a heal bot,
it
then it has a mech
once,
tribe.
Yeah,
and it has a mech tribe, so it wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world for mech people, but they don't really need help right now. So who knows? Anyways, Giant Fin, Lich Baziel. Sorry, I never want to play you if I can help it, and I can help it because I get 3 options.
Yep.
So, yeah. This week's balance patch, we only talked Mukla, which we threw up at the top tier right next to Maleficent Manastorm.
Maleficent, yeah.
Lord Jaraxxus, I would put Lord Jaraxxus in solid now. I think Lord Jaraxxus is right in the middle of the average pack. 2 gold hero power. Give your demons +1/+1, post the balance patch that went live yesterday. And I think I'd put Infinite Toki there too. I don't think she's top tier anymore because 2 gold is... the reason I liked her so much was the efficiency of her hero power, and it is no longer efficient. But it's still good. So Toki, I think
I'd put her like... Again,
Second
assuming
tier.
that it's only ever giving you the 1 higher, assuming that this was a straight up nerf, then yes, I would say she's slightly down from where she was, but she's still hang on, really, really good. Yeah, she's really good. She's not best. She's really good, I think.
Yes, my rankings were best, really good, not so great, avoid, and just bad.
Right. I think she's still in the top half of heroes, probably the top like 3rd, I would say, of heroes. She's still really good, I think. I would still pick her over quite a lot of other choices.
Yeah, but I think we disagree on this one. I would right now.
You can be wrong. It's fine.
That's okay. I've been wrong before. Toki might be your next life drinker, Jocelyn. But yeah, so to recap, best is AFK, Curator, Nefarian, Maleficent Manastorm, the new and improved Mukla. That's it. Really good, Rat King, Patchwork. Jocelyn says Toki, but I disagree. Good is Shudderwock, Yogg-Saron, Dancing Daryl, George the Fallen, Lich King, and I would say Toki. Not so great, Bartendotron, Queen Wagtoggle, Pyramad, the great Akazamzarak, Avoid, Professor Putricide, Ragnaros, Patches, and Gallywix, and just bad, Giant Fin, and Lich Baziel. And then Jaraxxus we put in the good, and Toki. We mentioned Toki already. So there you have it. There's our list. You can see the list in full, including some of the notes we put here, if you don't remember why we said they were good or bad. Although the really bad ones, I just threw them in here because I'm like, I know why I think these are bad. I don't need to write this down. And also, it's
they're just bad. Just trust us.
Yeah, but head on over to amove.tv/TAC. If you never look up show notes, this is how it works. We plan our show notes in a Google Doc. We make a new Google Doc every single week. I link that Google Doc in the episode post at the very bottom of the episode post for each and every episode of The Angry Chicken. So for this one, go to the episode 340 post. Click on the Google Docs link at the very end of that post, and you will see our list. So hope you enjoyed. And that's going to be the end of the show. We pulled emails, done. I promise. Keep them coming. tacpodcast@gmail.com. Keep writing in. Patrons, keep dropping questions in the patron Discord. But we had a feeling today was going to be long. And it was. We're over 2 hours now. But we really wanted to dig into the heroes. Got a lot of requests through Twitter and various outlets to really, really chew the fat on Battlegrounds this week. So we figured, why not? So next week, don't worry, we'll talk some dragons. We'll take a look at some of the cards we haven't talked about yet. But until then, that's going to wrap it up for the show. Thanks again to our awesome patrons for supporting us. If you'd like to become an Angry Chicken patron, whether it's $1 an episode or $1 billion an episode, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. Every bit helps. We really appreciate it and would ask you to go consider supporting us on Patreon. And huge thanks to our producers, by the way, Declan H., Sean C., and Cheesy Bob. Thanks for the support. Whole back catalog of episodes, either amove.tv or youtube.com/amovetv. That's where you can go find them. And you can catch us live Tuesdays, usually around 4 p.m. Eastern. We never start on time. Just hang out, chat for a few minutes. We'll be here. But before we go, Jocelyn, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. And as always, in our show notes for the months of pretty much September through December, you can find the link to my Extra Life campaign. We're getting pretty close. I was streaming-ish over the weekend because I was still sick. I wasn't actually on the stream. Ryan, my co-host, was streaming, but we did play quite a lot of stuff. We played some Heroes. Garrett, we played some Heroes.
Why didn't you call me?
I'm sorry.
Probably because I was sick in bed. I basically slept all weekend.
Yeah. But yeah, so we played some Heroes. It was really fun. We played some Dead by Daylight. We killed our friends. It was great. But yeah, I wasn't actually streaming. I could not take the lights and the everything for 12 hours. So, but yeah, I did play. It was really fun. And we still have 2 more nights. So, and I'll probably add another one to the schedule because I wasn't able to actually stream on Saturday, even though I did the marathon, I wasn't streaming. So I will be doing November 30th for sure. December 20th, we're just going to do like an evening and play some Christmas events, but somewhere in between those 2 dates, whenever I can find a Saturday free, I will do another marathon. So tune in, support the cause. It's a great cause. It benefits the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. So do go and check it out. Again, the link to the campaign will be in the show notes.
Every time. Go support it. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can see me not there right now because Katie's out of town for 48 hours, which means I can't watch The Mandalorian until Thursday. And one of you already spoiled it for me. So I don't want any more spoilers. So, yeah.
He knows you were just excited and meant well.
The poor person is probably like, Aaron, I know you. You tweeted me all the time. I know you meant well. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Anyways, amove.tv for all the podcasts that I do. Expect some Let's Talk About Star Wars very soon when I do see The Mandalorian. Into the Nexus ain't stopping anytime soon. Thank you to everyone, by the way, that upvoted our BlizzCon interview with the Heroes of the Storm developers. We were #1 for 2 days on the Heroes of the Storm subreddit. And can't thank you enough for that. So go subscribe to Into the Nexus. Keep listening to The Angry Chicken, which, by the way, if you're streaming this on like a podcatcher, hit that subscribe button. We don't say it. That's like a thing like YouTube people say, but subscribe to the podcast. You're gonna then like get you're gonna automatically get the show. I can tell you right now, Patreon, it's awesome. iTunes reviews, thank you so much. Downloads and subscriptions help us more than anything else. The way it doesn't matter if iTunes has a different algorithm from Spotify. Subscriptions and downloads help. They may help slightly differently, but they always help. So hit that subscribe button and tell a friend. Best way to help the Angry Chicken, and it's free. Turn a friend on to the Angry Chicken. I'm glad I said that quickly and didn't pause. Anyways, that's going to wrap it. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be back next week for episode 341. But until then, job's done.
Job's done.